Yeah, this is a picture of an American soldier, and this is the way that he had been treated. And as you can see, it certainly has nothing to do with taking a prisoner. This is just absolute terrible kind of a thing to do. And the result was that we had some people that we caught that were part of a gang. Germany had some guys who were out and killing our soldiers, especially by putting pieces of wire across the road, attaching it to trees, and somebody coming across down the road with a jeep and had the front windshield down. If it hit them under the chin, it took their head off, and so they were called the werewolves. And we would search a place and run these guys out of the woods because this is where they were hiding. And if they were run out, generally they were executed by many of the guys right at the time, especially when they saw this picture thing. They had all they wanted, and so they paid them back, and like fate just took care of them. That was it. This is the thing that was put out by our unit to show us a little bit of the history, D-Day through VE Day, and basically June through May of 45, June of 44 and May of 45. And basically the logo or the thing of our 38th Cavalry, that little emblem you can see, but also the 1st Army and the 6th Army and the 3rd Army and the corps, the different ones, 5th Corps, 6th Corps, and so on. And then on the inside is a map that basically shows routes that we took during the war, and also on the back or the inside part of it, there's a list of all of the people that were in not only our group, but our sister group, which was the 102nd. And basically we moved in with them. They had already been in England almost a year before we got there. We were there about 7 months before the invasion. So basically they were almost home troops. So the 102nd Cavalry Group basically is the entire unit, but basically the 38th was my group, and this is what we're sort of looking at. You can see the English Channel, and you can see at the top of the map here is England. The part we were in would be southern England, and Exeter was not too far from the coast. And basically, before we made our crossing, they moved us down into the coastal area, and then they appointed you to get on your boats and so on, and came across, and the French group was on the bottom. And of course there were all kinds of cannon and stuff that they were using to try to protect their area, and pillboxes and all that sort of thing. But at any rate, this is where the campaign begins. And once we got ashore, we joined up with the 1st Infantry Division. They were much more experienced, by the way, than we were. But of course, they had many of them who were replacements because they had been in 2 or 3 areas. And they have, ordinarily infantry has a big turnover in personnel because many are wounded or killed. And so I think the average infantry outfit in a year's kind of a fighting thing can get almost a 300% turnover sometimes. So it's kind of a tough place to be transferred into if you don't want to get too tough, because that's generally where the guys who end up getting the hard part of it. Yeah. But anyway, across the channel, and we got here 2 days after the landing for the beginning, and then came on in and joined the 1st. After we landed in France, the beginning things to move against the enemy started basically in August. We had started down the road, and we got informed that we were supposed to go as fast as we could to get to France. And so we did. We tried to any road we could do. When our group was split up in all kinds of places, and 101st also, and finally got the nod to go ahead. And after some firefights and things of that sort, we got to be the first American group into Paris, and it was about August the 25th, 26th, along in there somewhere, of 44, and had a wonderful time in Paris, well received. Everybody was tickled to death to see us, and everybody had a wine bottle in their hands. The ladies gave us all kisses, and we had just a lot of things that we could do, and we set up guards on all of the bridges across the Seine and also the Seine River, and tried to distraction any kind of a explosive we saw, cut wires, whatever, and then set up palaces, a guard in the Grand Palace and the Petit Palais, and then we were asked to camp and a place to la Concorde, and wait until General de Gaulle and General Bradley were there for the official welcoming. But there were still some firefighting things that went on. Even that somebody started firing from some of the apartments and the buildings around, and so we had to go back in and dig them out. And so we were there about 8 days, and then hit the road again, heading into Belgium. Yep.
You were there before the French came in?
We think we got in probably, they sent them in, I think, just about 8 o'clock, and I think we got there about 10 or 11. So basically, I think the French were there first. And we didn't see them, but God, there were so many people gathered around us. We were downtown. And Jimmy, my darling, my Jimmy, I love you. Jimmy had a girl, for God's sake, and we standing there drinking wine and talking to everybody, and God, we hear this kapump, 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 coming down the stairs, right? And guess who's mounted on a lady? Yeah, Jimmy, my darling, ends up down at the bottom, and some Frenchman says blah 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 in French. Everybody turns around, yay, yay! Couldn't believe it. God. Oh, God, he was something else. He was a lover. Yeah, this is in Belgium, and from Belgium into Germany. And as you can see, it was a matter of keeping on the roads and being careful not to get off running into mined areas, and getting across some of the rivers. The bridges had been knocked out on 2 of the rivers. Basically, our group, the tank group, crossed basically just in the tanks, and fortunately made it. It wasn't too deep, and got on the other side and got prisoners, and we moved right on through and got up into Germany relatively quick, and then through Liège, which was outside of our area in Germany, and to Manchau, which was the place where, after about, I guess, a month working through some of the wooded areas on patrol and things of that sort, we got up into Manchau, and then we were assigned, 6 of us, to become artillery observers, and just simply to ask where you wanted it and give them the directions, degrees north, degrees south, and the hopefully give them enough latitude that they could keep over our heads, not fire anything in behind us. And generally speaking, once we got the thing sort of figured out, we did pretty well. We could send artillery in real quick, and we did whenever we had to. And some of it was just hopefully to keep them awake. That's one thing. But that's what we did.
You also have here the campaign of the Balch.
Yeah. In Manchau, this is where we were on our artillery duty. And when we saw the German paratroopers being dropped, we were watching the highway that led from the Siegfried line down to us. And there were 6 houses in the row. We were in the last house and used that for our artillery observation place. And we saw them move down, and we slipped out quietly, came back down to just below the first house. Our C troop had dug into a mountainside and had a trench set up with machine guns and what have you. And so we joined them, and we had our weapons with us, stayed there until we were ordered to come on back down, get in our tank and so on, which we did later. But it was pretty good. And incidentally, the German paratroopers were picked up by our guys pretty quick. And most of them gave up without firing a shot. They thought they were pretty well behind lines, and it was too dangerous to mess around. So they were picked up pretty quick. Yeah. Okay, this is the trail across Germany and into Czechoslovakia. And also, this is where some of the people in the 102nd and the 38th went up to Torgu, or Torgay, I forget which it was. But at any rate, they met on a river up there, and the Russians and the American forces, the British forces, and so on. And they had sort of a get-together, and then each returned to their own sides. And we kept on going through German Sudetenland and then into Czechoslovakia. And Pilsen was our town to guard and maintain. And the Russians had Prague, which is their town. Okay, the Eagle's Nest map is a trip we took from Czechoslovakia to Italy. But they took us through several other areas. And we stopped at Hitler's Eagle's Nest, Berchtesgadens. And of course it had been damaged by bombs and some artillery, but basically it was still in pretty well the same shape, except the elevator didn't work. But anyway, we got a chance to go up and look through the window, and when we came down I saw some magazines there for the German army, like we had for the United States, and of course English, and I took one as a souvenir and brought it home with me. But we then went on down to Milan, Italy, and it's a good thing we didn't get there too soon, because when the Germans pulled out of Milano, they loaded up apparently the major mail source in that area with a bomb that was set to go off, I think, in a month, I believe it was, after the war was over, which it did, and I guess killed a lot of people. But at any rate, we had a chance to look around and then come back through Switzerland and then back into Czechoslovakia. And from Czechoslovakia back down to France and get ready to come home from Marseille. Okay, this is something I found up in Hitler's place in the mountains, and it's the Wehrmacht, which is a German name for the army. And basically it was Berchtesgadens. His place had suffered some bomb damage. The elevator didn't work, but we went up and took a look out of the window where Hitler and his love, I guess, used to look out and on their porch and things. Beautiful view and a very nice place, and he had all kinds of buildings that for his guards and so on, because he always had a group of armed guards around him. And but anyway, it was a very interesting place. We went through this area on our way down to from after the war was over, Czechoslovakia. They gave us a trip to Italy, and we went down to Italy and went through the Brenner Pass and so on, and in a little bit of Switzerland as well. And basically, it was a trip not quite like they take now. You had to ride a 6x6 truck in the back, and we took our water with us, and we took our rations also, because there was no place you could get food served at that time. So we made our trip and enjoyed it, but basically it's not quite like the trips you take today. But this was my thing that I picked up and brought back with me as a little memorial thing from Berchtesgadens.
Where was it sitting?
Was no cities, in the mountains.
No, where was the magazine sitting when you found it?
Oh, it was in the basement. Went down to the basement and looked around, and there was one or two of these still there. and I grabbed one, and a couple of the other guys grabbed a couple, and that was it. So the guards or somebody must have looked at it. The United States puts out the same kind of thing for soldiers. They print kind of a little leaflet thing with stuff in there about the Army and so on. So apparently the Germans and the English and everybody else does the same thing, I guess.
Discharge.
Yeah, I was discharged at Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania, and after we found our little puppy and got into Pittsburgh, we went over to my friend Harold Stalker's place, and he wanted to be reunited with his parents, and we were, and they were very kind and to us. And then we went on over to my grandmom's and met my mom, and we decided that we would take Mom home and drive to California, and we did. And then we went back to Pennsylvania and stayed a while, see my sisters up in, they were in Virginia, went up and saw them, and then came back to Pennsylvania. And before too long, we were on our way to Colorado, and his mom was with us and so on. So we just sort of went back and forth after that was over, and we got our discharges.
Was your family happy to see you?
Yeah, they were, and we were doggone glad to see them, I'll tell you right now. And we did not join the reserve.